We've actually prepared a talk that actually starts a little bit earlier than the Antonio Bay piece, just to kind of contextualise our work with the digital, which is maybe more focused with working with CGI technology and various digital printing processes. So this is an earlier work that we did called Death Valley. We basically made these giant backdrops out of these 3D scans that we'd taken of some sculptures we were working with. And basically this is the waste data where towards the edge of the scan the data broke down. And it all began from us looking at kind of, I guess, what happens to objects and things as they're moved between like real and virtual space and then back again, and what kind of is added or lost in that translation. One way that we were thinking of it is a bit like, we were also kind of, and we have been tying it to cartoon physics and thinking about it in relation to, for example, like Roadrunner, where there's a scene with Wile E. Coyote when he paints on the massive tunnel to catch Roadrunner, and Roadrunner can run through it, but Wile E. Coyote still stopped and like blocked, and that kind of relationship between objects and screens and these different physical rules that happen.
The next piece here is one we did for Legion TV's website. We did a piece that manipulated this homepage and created a virtual landscape and a camera track through it. This is the show upstairs here at South London Gallery, whereby we have done this print on carpet and then 6 sculptures in the space.
Basically, we built a virtual model of the upper galleries, and then using fluid dynamics to create a simulation of what would happen if the galleries were flooded full of smoke, to kind of create, just in this kind of like extreme scenario. But it was kind of in an attempt to create like a really epic cinematic image within the space. And then we then went on to then try out different lighting techniques to try and get like this really cinematic and epic effect, and also to try and create like within the virtual models and the virtual simulation of smoke, these different feelings of like narrative scenarios where theatrical smoke is used. But this kind of gives you an overview of the image that we then rendered out from above to have printed onto the carpet. So this is just a photo from the production factory of it being printed, because it gets printed in these huge 2-meter lengths.
We were quite interested as well in the degradation between taking a very, very high quality render and then printing on something very, very low quality like carpet, and the loss of information that you get in that process. We didn't quite know what's going to happen until we get the carpet back as to how much information we'll lose. But it's the same as when we showed one of the earlier work there of the print on the backdrops, where the scan has broken down and the mistakes are happening that are beyond our control. That's where I think a lot of our interest in the digital lies.
And I think also, like, within the wider context of our practice, we were quite interested in how the spaces actually were. Like, so the fact that they have quite domestic characteristics meant that we were immediately drawn to working with like the most domestic carpet we could find in the thickest pile, which then threw up more problems, I guess, for the printing, but became quite interesting with that relationship between the pile and the actual pixels. The other thing that I think is quite interesting, or that we're quite interested with, is this idea of the relationship between maybe like a whole overview of an image, and then actually when you put it into a space, how you actually can only see it in fractured parts, and like that shift, not just between screen and real space, but also like the perspectives that start to happen, and how you interpret images through like your physical bodily perspective in relation to what you can see on the screen.